Yeah, and that was running through my mind as you're talking about this. Like, for example, they are collecting Social Security dollars from everybody, garnishing their paychecks and holding this money, but they're taking, dollars that have more value and then giving them later in life dollars that have a lot less value, saying, okay, here's your security. So, is that sort of the game plan on all this debt and everything else? How do you see that?
I'm so glad you said that. That's what I alluded to a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
The business plan, as I said, for governments and central banks. And this is why we can really bet on inflation, because no matter what, they will try to cause inflation because it is a great deal for them. Think about this. When I teach real estate investors how to invest in real estate, and I've been doing that for many, many years, and have done very well with my own real estate portfolio and helped many clients do that. When we do this, we basically teach them a strategy called inflation-induced debt destruction. I know it's a mouthful. Inflation-induced debt destruction. And the idea behind this strategy is you borrow money at artificially low interest rates, and you use the collateral for that money, right, as an asset that is not indexed to any particular currency. This asset has intrinsic value, and every human being on earth needs it. It's housing, it's shelter, right? And the shelter is made up of certain ingredients. I call them packaged commodities or assembled commodities. And these commodities are simply things like lumber, drywall, concrete, copper wire that's in the walls, petroleum products, concrete, glass, and steel. All of these, and then of course energy as well, and labor. All of these ingredients make up a house or an apartment, right? And everybody needs them. It doesn't matter what the yen or the euro or the dollar or the peso or the Brazilian real is doing. These have intrinsic value. It doesn't matter what a currency, how to denominate them. It just doesn't matter, right? They have intrinsic value. So governments run up their debts, and they run up their debt, and it gives the politicians an opportunity to basically buy votes, right? To make people happy by promising them lots of fake money. They run up the debt, they debase the currency, they lower the value of the currency. Remember, for something to be valuable, it requires two things: scarcity and utility. Scarcity and utility. And the more scarce dollars are, the more valuable they become. The more abundant they are, the less valuable they become. And the less utility they have if they're more abundant. And I'll give you an example. One of my podcast listeners several years ago sent me a set of Zimbabwe dollars. Okay. Now, the Zimbabwe dollar years ago used to have some value, but it doesn't anymore. So this is a $20 trillion Zimbabwe note.
Wow.
And the last time this was actually used as currency, maybe, 6-7 years ago, it was worth about $4. You could buy a cup of coffee with it, right? And so they debased the value of the Zimbabwe dollar by creating or printing too many of them. And that's exactly what the U.S. government is doing, right? And it's what every other government around the world is doing. It's a race to the bottom to devalue their currencies. And if you don't believe this, just look at the stated goal of our central bank in the U.S., the Federal Reserve Bank. It is to create a target rate of 2% inflation. And our current Federal Reserve Chair has made no bones about it that he doesn't even care about the 2% target. He doesn't even care if it's much higher than 2%. So their business plan is inflation, and there's an old saying, don't fight the Fed. And I agree with that. Listen, philosophically, I don't like any of this stuff, but I want to align my interests and help investors align their interests with the two most powerful forces the world has ever known: governments and central banks. They are the most powerful things in the world. They have standing armies. We can disagree with what they're doing all we want, and I'm right there with you. But the fact is, we've got to simply align our interests with theirs, and their interest is to create inflation, and we need to play that same game.